You all, and thank you for hosting UNIFIL at the noon briefing. As you said, I will start with some opening remarks. After more than a year of exchanges of fire between Hezbollah and Israel, tensions have surged dramatically in the past few weeks, transforming the hostilities into a more lethal and intense conflict. According to the Lebanese Ministry of Public Health, the death toll in Lebanon since October last year has reached over 2,700 people, and the number of wounded to over 12,700. Around 25% women and children, and more than 2,000 deaths have occurred since 23 September of this year. More than 800,000 people have been forced out of their homes and communities, 60% of them from the area in which UNIFIL operates in South Lebanon, according to the International Organization for Migrations. Statistics like this cannot fully capture the human cost of conflict, and it's the civilians who continue to suffer. Peacekeepers are working hard behind the scenes to coordinate the safe passage of essential humanitarian aid by UN agencies and local international NGOs. Contingents have continued to support local communities through projects and donations to help those who have continued to stay in their homes. In a extreme situation, we also have helped to evacuate civilians trapped in conflict areas. And these conflict areas are becoming much more dangerous as the number of intensity of shells and airstrikes launched has grown. We're also witnessing hundreds of trajectories and sometimes more crossing the blue line each day. Peacekeepers are also reporting daily clashes on the ground. Despite the increasing challenges and IDF demands to move from position close to the blue line, we continue to monitor and report on what is happening on the ground, mostly from our observations, posts and positions, as most patrols have been suspended until things improve. Since the 1st of October, UNIFIL has recorded over 30 incidents resulting in damage to UN property or premises or injuring to peacekeepers. About 20 of those we could attribute to IDF fire or actions, with 7 being clearly deliberate. In an incident yesterday, a rocket lightly fired by Hezbollah or affiliated group, its UNIFIL headquarters in Nakura, and setting a vehicle workshop on fire, with some peacekeepers suffering minor injuries. For about a dozen of other incidents, the origin of fire could not be determined. What has been very concerning are incidents where peacekeepers are performing their monitoring task, as well as our cameras, lighting, and entire watchtowers have been deliberately targeted. To be clear, the actions of both IDF and Hezbollah are putting peacekeepers in danger, whether through crossfire or deliberate acts. Despite the very tense situation, UNIFIL continues to stay in contact with Lebanese and Israeli authorities, urging de-escalation. Our message to them is clear: recommit to Resolution 1701 in action and not just words. It is for them to implement 1701. UNIFIL's role is and has always been to support implementation and monitor and report violations, which we have faithfully and consistently done through our thorough and regular reporting to the Security Council. Despite all that has happened, we still believe that with the parties' commitment, we can go back to stability, and the Resolution 1701 is the framework to get there. Peacekeepers are ready to support any action or agreement that we help achieve that. Thank you, Stefano. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Andrea. We'll take some questions. Valeria Rebecco, answer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tenenti, for this press conference on behalf of the United Nations Correspondent Association. It's Valeria Rebecco from ANSA. My question is, Italy said several times that the UN mission in Lebanon needs revised rule of engagement to be more effective and more power in the future. So do you think a change in the UNIFIL mandate in the rule of engagement is a realistic possibility? Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Andrea.
Yes, at the moment, the rules of engagements are adequate to the situation on the ground, and any change to the mission's mandate or to the resolution will need to get the approval of the Security Council. So we are here to implement the mission's mandate, but any changes will be up to the Security Council. At the moment, the rules of engagement that have been used have been adequate to the situation on the ground.
Thank you. Edie?
Thank you very much, Andrea. Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. On the deliberate attacks against UNIFIL carried out by the Israelis, have they diminished? Are they increasing? And what is the Israeli government saying or doing about them? And I know in one case, one of your observation posts was toppled. Has it been put upright again? Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you again. Yes, some of the positions have been reinforced, and some of the areas and the perimeters of the base has also been reinforced. As you said, we had several deliberate attacks against the mission, because it's pretty visible that some of the targeting, especially the one against one of the tower in Nakura from Markava tanks, was hitting the tower where two peacekeepers were injured. Another two examples where drones enter almost close inside one of the bunkers where peacekeepers were sheltering. Another two were hitting the cameras. So these are all attacks that we've been very vocal about deliberate attacks, and even the Security Council and the international community has been vocal about it, which is a violation of 1701, but also a violation of international humanitarian law. In relation to the answer of IDF, I understand that we're still investigating this incident, but again, it's an obligation of the parties to ensure security of our peacekeepers.
And have you seen the number of deliberate attacks staying about the same, going up, going down?
Well, I would say that in recent days, I think the last one was a week ago. At this point, of course, we are concerned about all the attacks against peacekeepers and the continued shelling that we see from both sides. We continue to remain in our positions. We remain in the south of Lebanon, monitoring the situation and reporting to the Security Council. So our activities have been definitely challenged, and our also patrolling activities, as I mentioned during my opening remarks, have been limited. But we still continue to assist UN agencies also to bring humanitarian assistance to the local population. There are still thousands of people stuck in villages without having access to the most basic needs. This has also been challenging to bring assistance to the local populations. But we continue to monitor, and we continue to be present and do as much as we can to carry out our activities.
Thank you. Margaret?
Hi, Andrea. It's Margaret Bashir from Voice of America. I just, following up on that, how many people do you estimate are still left in South Lebanon in your area of operation as civilians? And what's your response to those, particularly in Israel, who are repeatedly criticizing UNIFIL for not having implemented 1701 for the past 20 years?
Yeah, okay. In terms of numbers, what has been reported by International Organization for Migrations, around 500,000 people have left the south of Lebanon. The population in the south is around 600,000 people. When I say south, meaning the area of operation of UNIFIL, from the Litani River to the Blue Line. So the vast majority of the population in the south have left, and there are still people living in this day. So it's still a very dramatic situation, because most villages have been completely destroyed, and the shelling is continuing. In relation to some of the of the criticism of UNIFIL not implementing the mandate. The mandate has to be implemented by the parties. UNIFIL is here to support the parties in the implementation of the mandate. So we need the commitment of the parties in order to implement Resolution 1701, which still remain the main framework and the only viable solutions to this conflict. We have been reporting thoroughly all the violation that we have seen in the area of operation for the last 18 years. And also to go back to that, from 2006 until October last year, the south of Lebanon had witnessed one of its quietest periods in recent history. It doesn't mean that resolution was implemented. There was still a work to be done. But this is a very difficult area with a lot of sensitivities, but we have been able to prevent some of the exchanges of fire. We have been working with the parties on a monthly basis. We had a monthly meeting between IDF and Lebanese army, which was the most important confidence building mechanism. We were working on adjusting or working on the last outstanding points along the blue line to visibly mark the blue line. Working with the Lebanese army, of course, there is a need for more Lebanese army to come to the south of Lebanon, but a lot of work was done during those 18 years. And as I said, implementation was still not there, but again, the implementation is not up to the mission, but it's up to the parties.
And if I could just follow up, you talked about the villages, many villages being destroyed or damaged. Could you just give us a little idea of what the UNIFIL troops have seen during their patrols? Like, how extensive is the damage in the south? I mean, is it total? How dramatic is it?
Pretty dramatic. As I said, our monitoring capabilities have been limited, but in recent days, we also have been able to go out and work on some of the roads that were not accessible until yesterday. So villages very close to the blue line, I would say 3, 4, 5 kilometers from the blue line, are completely destroyed. There are areas like Aferkila, Marwahin, Marun Arras, Yarun. Many villages have been very heavily damaged or completely destroyed. So the situation is pretty dramatic. And in recent days, yesterday also, the day before, the city of Tyre, Sur, has been badly damaged, hit and bombed in areas close to downtown and other residential areas. So damages and destruction is pretty evident and dramatic.
Ken Abdelhamid.
Thank you for the briefing. It's Pamela Falk from U.S. News and World Report. The U.S. has supported and sort of drafted, and Israel is considering a 60-day ceasefire in the region. Has UNIFIL, have you been contacted on how that would work? And what is your view of moving forward on that? Thank you.
Well, UNIFIL is in constant contact with the parties, IDF, Lebanese authorities, and talking to the diplomatic communities. So the channel of communication is open. But of course, the negotiations is up to UNIFIL. We are ready to support any agreement that can bring back stability to the south of Lebanon. Again, what we have been saying repeatedly, that a diplomatic and political solution is the only solution. There is no military solution to this conflict. Military activities can only bring short-term solutions, but we really need to go back to the negotiating tables. But as I said, we are in touch with the parties. A lot of discussion has been ongoing, but we have no information than that. And there are a lot of reports, but also a lot of speculations on the situation on the ground and upcoming decisions.
To the 1701 question, I think Valeria mentioned it. It's been operating in the breach for 2 decades or over a decade. And why do you think it'll work now?
Well, the thing, as I said, there is the need for the full implementation of 1701. The resolution has been heavily challenged, but the main provisions of security, stability, support for the Lebanese army, long-term solution is still there. We still believe that is the main framework, but again, it's not up to us, it's up to the commitment of the parties. But the main elements of deployment of Lebanese army to the south of Lebanon, ensuring there are no weapons in the south of Lebanon, working on all the outstanding points along the blue lines, they're all important and provisions that are still very valid right now. So we still believe that the framework is the framework that should be used to find a solution to this conflict.
Thank you. Mike Abdelhamid, then Stefano.
Andrea, Mike Wagenheim with I-24 News. You feeling better?
Yes, thank you.
Good. Pamela took one of my questions, but I needed to ask, and I've asked other UN officials this and haven't been able to get a clear answer yet. For years, UNIFIL, when it came to the issue of thwarting Hezbollah's development in UNIFIL's area of operation, UNIFIL said we are primarily a reporting mission, we are primarily a monitoring mission, and many UNIFIL soldiers and UN officials have said on record, when it comes to an issue where UNIFIL's troops are in danger in terms of approaching Hezbollah, that UNIFIL acquiesces, that it will not put its troops in direct danger when it comes to trying to go into territory that Hezbollah deems private property, things of that nature. And that's a good faith position if it was consistent. But now that it's Israel and not Hezbollah asking UNIFIL to yield so Israel can take care of its operations, now UNIFIL is willing to put its troops in the direct line of fire and risking their lives and limb. How do you explain that change in policy? How do you explain that sudden change in posture after having gone the other way for so many years?
Well, there is no change in posture because we have been always very transparent in reporting all violation. As you mentioned, missions mandate has a limitation. We cannot search private property, and there are certain things. We are not here to disarm Hezbollah, but we have been reporting faithfully all the violations of Resolution 1701 and all the evidence of violations and suspicious activities in the area of operations. The use of force, we are not even using force right now when we have been facing with difficult situations because we don't want to increase the violence. Our role is a peacekeeping role. We are under Chapter 6 of the Security Council. So we have been blamed by the Lebanese, by Hezbollah, for all these 18 years to be pro-Israelis or looking after Israeli requests. And now we are seeing also, of course, the Israeli side saying that we are more pro-Hezbollah. So we are really trying to be impartial, and it's very difficult to be impartial and report faithfully all the different violations. But that's what we have been doing. So there is no change of posture. The change of posture is the fact that now there is an active conflict that has been going on for 30 months. So of course the situation has changed, and also ensuring the safety and security of our peacekeepers. So this has changed, but that's because the situation on the ground is very different from before October last year.
Well, your mic.
Sorry. There have been, since the conflict erupted and Israel has gotten into southern Lebanese territory during these incursions and operations, weapons caches and tunnels that have been found within UNIFIL's area of operation, things that have not been found on any particular reports that have been submitted to the Secretary General or the Security Council. These are within sight lines of UNIFIL's observation posts and other UNIFIL bases. I mean, how do you explain UNIFIL missing this so badly when it says that its primary mission is a reporting and monitoring mission?
Well, we have been, even the one that you're mentioning right now, like for instance, the example of the tunnel close to the UNIFIL position. This has been reported already in 2023 that there were suspicious activities in that area. And once again, the area was agreeing without border, was a private property. We asked for access several times through the Lebanese authority, through the government of Lebanon, to facilitate UNIFIL's prompt and full access to those sites. And this was requested by UNIFIL, and it's all in the SG's report. But the access was not given to the mission. So this is, again, is the limitation of resolution of 1701. But this has been reported, and a lot of other activities and firing ranges has been reported through the Security Council. Again, it's up to the party to implement the resolution. We have been asking the Lebanese authorities in several occasions, and this has been clearly shown in all the reports to the Security Council.
Thank you, Andrea. Stay healthy.
Abdelhamid, Stefano, then Deji, and then I think we're going to have to release our guests.
Thank you, Andrea. Abdelhamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi. Sir, 1701 was violated by Israel an average of 200 times a year, as reported by the Lebanese mission to the Security Council. So now they remembered 1701. Why they didn't protest the violation of 1709 before? But if it was not Israel involved, then they will be quiet about 1701. The second question about 1701, it has 19 working paragraphs. I want you to look at it. I'm sure you know it. It talks about withdrawal from occupied land in Lebanon. You know,
Abdelhamid, what is the question?
Point 18, please let me finish. Point 18, it talks about not only 1701, it talks about 242, 338, and 1515. It talks about implementation of these resolutions. If they were implemented, then there will be no need for what's going on now, right or wrong? Thank you.
Well, I said from the beginning, Resolution 1701 has been heavily challenged, and the implementation is not there and is up against the parties. But all these violations that you're mentioning right now, you're right. We're all reported to the Security Council. Air violations, ground violations, issues of permanent violation like Gajar have all been reported. And before October last year, there was a lot of work done by the mission to work on all the outstanding points along the line. We had over 160 meetings between IDF and Lebanese army to look at issues related to the full implementation of 1701. Part of the blue line has been marked. There were still areas that we were working on. As you know, this is a very difficult area, very high sensitivities, political difficulties, but we were working to try to work on all these outstanding points. Of course, the events of October last year happened, and we are back to square one, but there was a lot of work done during the 18 years. And we were, as I said, being able to mark more than 50% of the blue line. But again, we need to go back to 1701. We need to go back to the cessation of hostilities, finding solutions, and move forward for the full implementation, and find a permanent, not only cessation of hostilities, but moving towards a permanent ceasefire.
Thank you. Stefano, then Deji.
Thank you, Andrea Tenenti. This is Stefano Vaccara, La Voce di New York Ital Press. This is a follow-up on what Valeria asked you, first question. If I understood, you say that the rules of engagement, are fine at the way they are, and in case should be changed by the Security Council. Well, Italy Defense Chief of Staff, Generale Luciano Portolano, said that the rules of engagement are not proportional to the task assigned to the force at the moment. And so I have a question on a specific issue, protecting civilians. For one, understand that rule of engagement now says that UNIFIL can use force to protect civilians under imminent threat of violence. Did this happen in the last, let's say, month? Did the UN protect civilians? Any civilian?
We are doing our utmost to protect civilians. We also have been having civilians inside our bases when they were under a serious threat to their lives. So we did that. The use of force has always been part of Resolution 1701. If we have been using it, no, we have not been using it, even because we need to check if we're using force during this period, we just increase the violence. We're trying to decrease it. We're trying to deconflict situations. So in certain cases, using violence will only increase tensions and make us part of the conflict. So we need to work in deconflicting situations, and that's what we are doing. But protection of civilians is definitely of paramount importance, and we have been doing whatever we could during this period to protect civilians inside our bases, and also reporters inside our positions when there was heavy shelling in the different areas of the area of operations of UNIFIL.
So just a quick follow-up. You're saying that you've been protecting civilians when they are inside your bases, but you just told us that there are about 100,000 civilians are still around in the villages. So if in this moment some family calls you, the UNIFIL, and say they're shooting at us, Hezbollah, Israel, doesn't matter whom, but they're shooting at us, please come to rescue us, what are you going to do?
As I said, when there is an imminent threat to their security, they can reach any position. We have 50 bases along the blue line in the area of operation, 29 along the blue line and 50 in total. So they can reach any of our positions and find refuge inside our base. That's what we have been doing. Of course, the situation is also challenging for everyone. We have been having difficulties in going out and patrolling because of the heavy shelling, because it's unpredictable, because the bombing is daily, and we are doing our utmost to ensure the protection, but also to bring assistance to the local population. That's what we have done. This is our priority. But again, there are serious challenges that our peacekeepers are facing on a daily basis.
I understand, but I'm sorry. My question was.
I think Stefano. I think he's
but it's a specific question. One thing is to ask civilian, get out of the house, come to our base because we are going to protect you. And one thing is to get out of your base with tanks, with whatever, and while they're shooting, go. Like here, rulings of engagement say protecting civilians, go and rescue those civilians. Can you do that now?
Well, as I said, the situation is very difficult. We have done it. Even the other day with 2 civilians, they were taken back to their village, and they used our APCs, our vehicles, to reach safely the area where actually they could be protected. So we have done it. As I said, we do our utmost to ensure that kind of protection and bring them to safety. But again, there are also serious challenges that peacekeepers are facing for their own safety, and the safety also of peacekeepers is of paramount importance. So we have been doing our utmost. We will do more whenever it's possible, but as I said, protection of civilians is something that we're looking at it very seriously, and that's what we've been doing. I gave just an example of the other day, but it's something that we're taking very seriously.
Thank you. Deji, and then we'll release Andrea.
Hi, Andrea. This is Deji Shu with China Central Television. Hopefully, I will just ask the following question. For the past month, we saw the attack from IDF on the UNIFIL facilities, watchtowers, and we also see the headquarters being attacked, most likely by Hezbollah or its affiliated groups. I mean, we talk about this liaison mechanism a lot. Is that still working? Like, if you still have contacts with both parties, what message do you have for every day? Are they going to give you explanations why they're doing that, or they are giving you a heads up, hey, we're going to attack this place or that place? Like how this works now?
Well, the liaison branch is still very active, and also the communication of the force commander with the parties is very active to deconflict situations. But the liaison branch has been active on a daily basis to notify the parties of the movement of our convoys, supplies, humanitarian assistance. We still do that. But again, the difficulty is that most of the times the parties, they're not ensuring or guaranteeing the safety of some of these convoys. We are doing it on a daily basis, trying to safeguard and protect not only peacekeepers, but also the local populations. We have been able to do some of these activities, as I mentioned earlier, but has been very challenging. But the liaison branch is really working day and night to try to deconflict all these activities, notifying the parties and doing whatever we can to ensure the safety of convoys, humanitarian convoys, and also of our peacekeepers. But again, it's not easy. It's difficult because the shelling bombing is daily, and no one can guarantee our security. But we have been doing as much as we could to work with both sides in order to deconflict activities.
Andrea, it seems to me like it's only UNIFIL sending messages to the other parties. It's not the other way around. What message do they have to reply you on all those incidents? Do they have anything to explain, like explanations? Is that what I feel is right?
Well, I think in this case, the messages that are going from on both sides is really from our side to deconflict activities. Sometimes we get response that activities have been deconflicted, but as I said, it's not always the case. And definitely the communication is going from both sides, from our side to the Lebanese authorities and to the LDF. But again, has been incredibly challenging in recent days.